Hey movie lovers, I'm your host Joss and welcome back to Top 10 Beyond the Screen. Make sure you guys find us on social media to get all the behind the scenes. Our accounts are linked down below. And don't forget, if you hang out with me until the end of this video, I will respond to some of your comments. Today I am dishing out the goods on one of our favorite childhood movies, Toy Story. I think it is safe to say that those movies were a huge part of our childhood, well, the majority of us anyways. But it is no surprise anymore that inappropriate or twisted things have found their way into children's movies. We didn't realize it when we were young, but now it's almost impossible to unsee it. The highly anticipated Toy Story 4 movie is actually now in theaters, so don't let this list steer you from going to see it. This is all just fun and games. Let's jump into today's list of top 10 scary Toy Story moments that will ruin your childhood. Starting off our list at number 10 is the inappropriate flirting that happened between Woody and Bo Peep. As kids we wouldn't have thought anything of it, but when looking back now, it's scary to see how some of these moments actually ended up in what is supposed to be a kids movie. One moment is when Bo Peep wants to express her gratitude for how Woody saved her, so she makes the comment, "What do you say I get someone else to watch the sheep tonight?" Clearly meaning that she won't have to worry about them and they can have some alone time. She follows the statement by seductively reminding Woody that she only lives a few blocks away. If that wasn't enough, later on there's also a moment where she is going in to kiss Woody and he says no, not in front of Buzz, and she says let him look. Whoa, slow down there Peep, this is a children's movie. Maybe Bo Peep left Toy Story so that they could keep it PG. In at number 9 is lust. Quite often we hear about inappropriate things ending up in these movies, but this is one you definitely missed. As kids we believed that it was possible for the toys in the movies to find love no matter who they are. Whether you're a space ranger, a cowgirl, or a human, you will never be alone. Which is why it was fun to see Mr. and Miss Potato Head being all wifed up together. But there is a moment in Toy Story 2 where we see the married Potato have a moment of lust for Barbie. During the scene, a Barbie doll treats the gang to a tour of Al's Toy Barn by driving them around in her Barbie car. While they are driving, the toys are blown away by her and her friends, and that is when we hear Mr. Potato Head mutter under his breath, "I'm a married spud, I'm a married spud." Looking back now, as an adult, the fact he even had to remind himself that he's a married man clearly means he was lusting for that blonde hottie. Sliding into the number 8 spot is Mr. Potato Head gets hit in the crotch. I see a little pattern building here with Mr. Potato Head being slightly inappropriate for this movie. In Toy Story 3 we see the potato has somewhat of a superpower. He's pretty much immortal as long as he can place the various parts of his body in the right spots. At one point in the movie we see him become a Mexican version of himself by transforming into Mr. Tortilla Head. He literally becomes a piece of tortilla bread so that he can sneak around more easily. A bird comes around and starts to pick at him, obviously, seeing as birds love bread, so he has no choice but to start covering up his body in defense. In this scene there's a moment where he gets pecked by the bird in between the legs, so he clutches that area like a man would if he got hit in the crotch. Although we can't see this part of his toy body because that would be totally weird, I think it's a little unnecessary to even imply that something is down there. Taking over the number 7 spot is Buzz has a wing erection. When going into Toy Story 3 nobody would have guessed that Jessie and Buzz would become a couple. The chemistry between the two of them was probably harder to notice when we were kids, but looking back now the flirting is a little more noticeable. When the two of them first met and had their first conversation, Buzz approaches her to compliment her on her looks and intelligence. What a gentleman. However, Buzz wasn't prepared for how impressed he was going to be when he saw Jessie help out Andy's dog by opening the door in this big acrobatic fashion. In the scene after Buzz watches her little performance, he stands on Andy's bed, jaws the floor, staring, and suddenly his wings pop out of his back. Clearly implying that he's had some sort of erection there. You don't need a dirty mind for this one, to be obvious. Like, geez Buzz, just keep it in your jetpack. In at number 6 is the hooker. Okay, so some of the things on this list might have been more obvious than others, but this one was so subtle and clever that it actually deserves some praise. Not that I agree with them putting it into a children's movie, but the joke is pretty clever nonetheless. In the original Toy Story movie, we get to meet all of Sid's creepy toys that he has made by mutilating and combining different toy parts together. color. A few of them are creepy looking, like the spider with the baby's head that has a missing eyeball, but one of them isn't scary at all, and it's the crane hook with human legs. Well, Barbie legs. I mean, just take a minute to think about it. Female legs mixed in with a hook? That is right, the joke of this toy is that it is a hooker. We would have never caught on to this as a kid until we reached an age and learned what a hooker was, and now looking back, it's all I see. There was actually a hooker in Toy Story. Halfway through the list at number 5 is the poop comment. I don't blame Pixar for putting a poop joke in the movie, seeing as kids find it hysterical. But the thing is, we didn't even catch on to the poop joke until we were adults, and now it's just a little bit disgusting. In Toy Story 3, we get introduced to Sunnyside Daycare. The daycare can be a great or horrible place for the toys, it just depends what part of the daycare they are in. If they are in the butterfly room with the older kids, then the toys feel like they are in paradise. If you get stuck with the younger children in the caterpillar room, well, you basically get tossed around like garbage. The younger kids don't exactly know how to take care of the toys properly. Mr. Potato Head gets it the worst out of the gang and ends up being put in the caterpillar room. He gets brought into the sandbox where he gets pushed into some Lincoln logs. If you don't know what those are, they are small brown pieces of wood that look and stack up like logs. It's in that moment that Ham says, "I don't think those were Lincoln logs," which makes the funny joke that it might be kids going potty in the sandbox and that he actually got pushed into pieces of poop. In spot number 4 is Woody's college experience. For decades, there have been ongoing jokes in movies about how people get wild when they go off to college. You probably wouldn't expect that kind of joke to be in a movie like Toy Story, but turns out that it is. At the end of Toy Story 3, we see that Andy is going off to college and is taking Woody with him. But the rest of the toys are going off to the attic. We can all admit that we hated seeing Woody say goodbye to the rest of the gang. Maybe we were too young or just too much into our emotions, but Ham cracks another joke that probably didn't strike us as inappropriate. In the moments he is saying goodbye to his friends, Slinky tells him to have fun in college, and that is when Ham chimes in and says, "Yeah, but not too much fun," and follows it with a wink. Woody gives a mischievous giggle as he walks away, which can only make us wonder what wild college fun Ham was referring to. Alright guys, at number 3 is Mr. Potato Head's killer plot. If you've done any kind of research on Toy Story, you might have come across the origins of the movie and how the original scripts were much darker than the final product. Originally, the script had Woody being some sort of sadistic monster that crushed the other toys. Turns out pieces of this original idea could still be seen in the final product. In the scene when Woody accidentally pushes Buzz out of the window, to be exact. It's the moment when Andy re-enters his room to search for Buzz, we can see the other toys are still pissed at Woody for pushing him out. That's when Mr. Potato Head threatens Woody by drawing a noose on the Etch-a-Sketch. As a kid, we probably thought it was just an innocent game of hangman, but looking back now, Woody was going to be murdered in front of all of his friends if Buzz didn't show back up alive and well. I feel like they could have picked anything else to draw than a noose. Maybe that was just a bit much for a kids movie. Heading into number 2, we have Buzz Lightyear getting drunk. When you first watched Toy Story, you probably loved Buzz's dress-up character, Miss Nesbit. I know I did. I thought the whole scene was absolutely hilarious. To refresh your memory, it's the scene when Buzz dresses up in a flower hat and an apron after his arm falls off. He ends up having a tea party, which is where Woody finds him drinking tea with headless dolls. Buzz begins acting crazy and starts to slur his words, which are making no sense anyways. Basically, he's acting drunk. We probably didn't understand this when we were kids, but Woody ends up taking the teapot out of his hand and says, "I think you had enough tea for today," similar to when we take a drink away from our intoxicated friend. To kids, it just looks like Buzz has gone a little cuckoo, but when you rewatch the scene now, you can actually pick up on all the clever jokes in the scene that only an adult would really get. To your number 1 spot is the Prospectors casting couch. The Me Too movement has been going around in Hollywood and in general for a long time now, but more recently it came to surface. For a long time, reports have been made of powerful men in business taking advantage of women who just wanted the chance at the opportunity that they had the power to give them. No, I am not trying to stir the pot, it just is what it is. Regardless though, you would never expect to see an example of this in a children's movie, and the truth is we would have never noticed it until now. Before Marvel turned the end credits into its own, Toy Story 2 actually featured a bunch of blooper scenes in the credits. In one of those scenes, you can see Prospector Pete flirting with Barbie twins inside of his box, offering them a part in Toy Story 3. In the scene, Woody is searching for Pete and turns his box around to find him having this little discussion. The implications of the scene are obvious to adults, but for kids it would probably just fly right over the radar. But now that I've pointed it out, you might have new thoughts about Stinky Pete or even the movie as a whole. Alright guys, there's our list for today. Let me know what you think down in the comments and hit that thumbs up button so that I know you liked it. For now, let's check out some comments from my last video. Maddie Dias says, am I the only one who is having trouble with the fact that she said the word GIF like GIF? Nah, girlfriend. Listen here, girlfriend. I've heard people say it both ways. I've heard GIF and I've heard GIF. Easton Callan says, as always, you presented it beautifully. I bet you can even present phone directory and make it interesting. By the way, you pronounce GIF as it should be pronounced according to its inventor, Steve Wilhite. Oh really? You don't say. Maybe you need to think twice next time, Maddie. Danielle Lumpkin says, Liam called off his and Miley's engagement because of that performance. She lost more than she realized. Well, she gained it all back because now they're married. Joe Motion Videos 82 says, Dolly Parton is adorable and has a personality to match. Yeah, I would love to hang out with her for a day. I think that'd be so much fun. Alright guys, we are at the end here. Stay on this screen if you want to keep watching more Beyond the Screen videos. I am your host Joss and I'll see you next time.